I'm currently joining you from Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene nations, and homeland to the Red River Métis. I acknowledge that the water I'm drinking today is sourced from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation, while at the same time, many of our Indigenous communities lack clean drinking water even today. A special thank you and shout out to Red River College and their American Sign Language class for providing interpretation for our events. We are connected to our global community by our monthly theme, and our hashtags for today's event are hashtag CMWPG, CM Winnipeg, and hashtag CMDare. And we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at CM_Winnipeg. So you can see that up on the screen now and invite you to join that conversation through social media. I'm really excited about the theme this month and can't wait to dig in. So here's what's going to happen at today's event. At every Creative Mornings Winnipeg event, we have a musical guest to celebrate the musical talent in Manitoba. And this month's musical talent is Paul Bergman. After hearing from Paul, you'll be invited to participate in a poll and then breakout rooms to do an activity on the theme of dare with others. And after 8 minutes in the breakout room, we invite you back to the main stage to hear from today's speaker, Brenda Bourns. While the main presentation is on, like right now, we invite you to keep your camera on, but your microphone muted. And we love seeing all your morning faces. Please, and so let's talk about here for this event for next month. Please join us for October, and our virtual event is on the global theme of design. And we're going to be welcoming special guest Jordan Stranger, otherwise known as Totem Dudum, a proud Oji-Cree visual artist and graphic designer, and a Red River College alumni. His signature colorful pop art style can be seen in large-scale murals, logos, and exhibits around Winnipeg. He also has an international following demonstrated by his recent partnership with Apple to create visuals to highlight apps in the Apple App Store that focus on Indigenous language and culture. The tickets are available now on the Creative Mornings Winnipeg website, so don't forget to register after this event. So it's time now to say thank you to our global and local partners. And without them, we wouldn't get to do this fabulous work in a building of community and creativity here in Winnipeg, a virtual building. So thank you to our global marketing partner, MailChimp. Have you heard of the podcast Call Paul? As part of the wide-ranging MailChimp Presents lineup, Paul Jarvis interviews entrepreneurs who prioritize passion over profit and renegotiate the status quo. In the first episode of season 2, Paul Jarvis interviews Austin Kleon, the former Creative Mornings speaker and a prolific blogger, illustrator, and author. Austin explains how creativity and commerce don't have to be at odds. It's worth a listen, and you can find further details over on the MailChimp Presents page. And thank you to Skillshare, our global partner for online learning. Skillshare is an online learning community helping millions take the next step on their creative journeys. Well, with the right mindset, you don't actually need to be famous to make a living from your art. In the first episode of this free Skillshare YouTube series, Unmaking the Myth, Andy J. Pizza debunks common myths about audience growth and explains how just 1,000 true fans can offer more sustainable success. For more, subscribe to Skillshare's YouTube channel and keep up with the latest from Unmaking the Myth, where Andy defies the conventional wisdom of makers and creators every week. And thank you to our local partners. To our Creative Mornings Winnipeg Steering Committee, thank you. Thank you for all of your hard work in bringing these events in every month. Thanks, team. We're also looking for new volunteers to support our Creative Mornings events, promotion, speakers, and partners. Everything from event day support to marketing and promotion to speaker support. The time commitment is up to you, and you'll be part of an amazingly talented group of people who care deeply about spreading creativity. Please email us at winnipeg@creativemornings.com to let us know that you're interested. We can't wait to have more talented people join us in the steering committee. So now it's time for some of our wonderful local music, thanks to our partnership with Manitoba Music. And we have a special musical performance by Paul Bergman. Paul Bergman has released 5 records and toured across the Canadian prairies. Presently, a sort of solitary, Paul dedicates his days to tending to the songs within his care. I Just Want to Walk in the Dark with You. The song you'll hear first was released on January 29th, 2021 by Birthday Cake Media and is the torchbearer of an upcoming collection of songs. And during this song, we dare you to get up and move your body to release something you're holding on to. You can dance, jump, sway, shake, whatever serves to help you release something this morning. Stretch out of your little Zoom square and have some fun with the music.
Your hand here in mine. Let's go now. Now's the time. And I don't even care where we go to. I just wanna walk in the dark with you. We go to a friend's place and laugh out loud. But I just can't wait to get out of the crowd. 'Cause when the party is finally through, I just wanna walk in the dark with you. You're as near as the stars, as far as my eyes. Is the sky to us what we are to the sky? I may lie beside you, but this is true. I just wanna walk in the dark with you. We're in this love that reaches to dust. So I walk in the dark with you. I just wanna walk in the dark with you. I just wanna walk in the dark with you.
Thank you again, Paul. And we'll hear from him again before we end the day today. So let's get on to our theme for September. And September's theme is dare. So we're going to show you the illustration that comes along with the monthly theme from Global Headquarters. And let's talk about dare. So to dare is an act of faith. We work up the nerve to make the soaring leap, even when we don't know what the outcome will be. At the core of daring, you'll find bravery and defiance entwined. We dare to challenge the stories passed down to us that no longer fit, the stories that limit our imagination. Creative Mornings Porto Alegre chose September's theme of dare, and Mitty Madonka illustrated the theme. And I have a little bit of a dare story to share. So I had Chinese food last night for dinner, and I'm not normally a fortune cookie person, but Here's my fortune. If you could see it, and I'll read it to you. It says, get ready to do something daring. So I couldn't think of a better fit than for our creative mornings this morning. So let's start our day with a poll, and I'm interested to hear what you might be interested in daring to do in the future. So let's start that poll and see where you are today. So are you going to dare look at this awesome list of things? Are you going to dare to speak in public, to do an extreme sport, maybe to try a new food, to fall in love, to break a habit, or share a long held secret? Or maybe there's something else on your mind. So a dare can be as big or as small as you want it to be. And I'd love to see. So we've got some results coming in, lots under break a habit and fall in love. Oh, break a habit's running away here with our results a little bit. Speak in public. We'd love to, hear lots of things that you might be willing to dare to do and what kind of opportunities you could find to do it. All right, we'll give you another few seconds to answer that poll, and then we'll share the results with you. All right, I'm going to share the results then. Scott, that would be great. So you can see where we've landed. Everybody was ready to break a habit, which is great. Fall is such a nice time to have a bit of a refresh. And interesting to see speak in public then being the next one. And then we're right in between a new food and falling in love. So we'd love to see you, tag Creative Mornings Winnipeg in social media and share your dare with us as you accomplish it, and let it inspire you to do more. All right. So getting ready to dare to do something might feel a little bit like the primal scream moment we created last month as a community. So here's a reminder of what that might look and feel like. So once we get you into breakout rooms, we're going to invite you to step in, and one breakout room, like Scott mentioned, will have the ASL interpretive support. So this is going to be an 8-minute activity. And while you're in the rooms, we invite you to share a story about something you either want to dare to do or something that you have already dared to do that took you outside your comfort zone and conquered your fear. And when you come back from your breakouts, we'll have one simple group activity that we hope you'll all participate in called Share Your Dare. So we're going to ask you to write "I dared to" on a large piece of paper. So get yourself a piece of paper and a pen or a marker if you don't have one in front of you. And we'll then ask everybody to hold it up to the camera all at once. It'll be a collective celebration of our creative community conquering fear and making the world a better place because of it. So we're now going to invite you to choose a breakout room you'd like to join. And if you haven't joined a room in a minute, we'll randomly assign you to one. Remember, this activity is 8 minutes, and we'll provide a 2-minute warning when we invite you to come back to the main stage, and we'll be ready to welcome our speakers. So remember to turn your camera on and unmute yourself. And if you have any issues, you can leave the breakout room anytime and head back to the main room and ask questions by clicking on the Leave Room button. So remember, let's listen to what people are willing to dare to do and or have already done to help conquer fear. Let's see, what have we got here? Try to read them. I dare to live life to the fullest. Awesome. Thanks, Ramir. Jonathan, I dare to be better. Great. Toastmasters or improv, Larissa. Good for you. I dare to trust my gut. Yeah, that's a great one, Matt. Sometimes it's that inner voice that steers us in the right direction. Christine, I dare to share my haiku poetry in a public, I can't see the bottom of that, but I'll say way. Good for you. Yeah, I love your haiku poetry. And Christian, I dare to have a nap. I'm with you. Andrew, I dare to skydive. Seriously. Wow. That's so awesome. I dare to talk on larger stages. Brenda, awesome. Right on. So glad to have you here. Amber, I dare to, does that say trust myself? Push myself. Awesome. That's so great. It's such a great way to start the morning. Tom, I dared to be in traffic, to bike in traffic. Awesome. That's so great. I hope everybody else is reading our dares. Mine is I dare to be your MC today. So, ah, so great. Such a great way to start the morning. And take your dare with you and let us know when you've accomplished your dare. And can't wait to keep those good vibes rolling all month long. So I wonder, how did that feel? Do you feel any lighter? Let us know in the chat how big that dare felt, or how if you're ready to go out and conquer it. So now I'm very pleased to introduce Kat and Wayne, one of our amazing Creative Mornings team members and a new member of the team at Relish New Brand Experience. Kat's fairly new to Winnipeg. He's been here for about a year, and we're really excited to have him on the steering committee. So Kat will be sharing our Creative Mornings Manifesto and introducing our speaker for today. So over to you, Kat.
Thank you. So Creative Mornings is guided by a powerful manifesto, which we read at every event. So here's the manifesto. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery, action, honesty, and hard work. We're here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things that you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in jazz hands, virtual claps, and virtual snaps. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will be inspiring to another, and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome. The Winnipeg chapter has also made a commitment to reflecting diversity and ensuring inclusion for our events. Located in one of the most diverse communities in North America, we are as inclusive as we're creative, and we will be creative in order to achieve inclusion. We believe in the value of diversity of perspectives, audiences, and industries as we create safe events to debate and to discuss what it means to be creative. We will celebrate multiple approaches and points of view, and we will be mindful and purposeful in building a culture where these differences are not only valued, but also celebrated. And now, I am very pleased to welcome Brenda Bourns to the Creative Morning stage. Brenda is an inspiring and creative event planning, marketing, production, and promotion specialist. Brenda has decades of experience in the events industry. From the University of Manitoba to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to the CFL Grey Cup game and everything in between, Brenda and her team have worked on events ranging from golf tournaments to international productions like the 1999 Pan American Games or the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup Soccer. She's here today to tell her story of becoming an accidental pirate. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. I appreciate the welcome, and I'm excited to be here. My story of being an accidental pirate began on August 1st, 2020. I was excited for the August long weekend, but what transpired was something that I could never have imagined. So the Jets had just lost 4-1. It was almost midnight. They were playing against Calgary, and I decided to take my dog for a walk. We had just moved into a new neighborhood in River Heights, and there's century-old trees there. And coming with century-old trees are many squirrels and rabbits. And my TSN turning point is I wrapped my dog's leash around my wrist to keep her close to me, because I noticed that while I was walking her, she was always lunging towards these little mammals scurrying by, and she was jarring my arm all the time. In hindsight, that was the TSN turning point for Brenda. We walked about a block, then we were on our way back home. I just wanted her to do her business. And I was about 30 feet away from my front yard. A little rabbit scooted past our feet, and of course my dog reacted. I fell to my feet and landed on my knees and hit my face on the ground. And I hit my face so hard that I kind of got up on my knees and I thought, did I just lose my chiclets? Did I break my jaw? And I was so startled. And then she lunged forward. I hit my neighbor's tree with such impact that it rocked me backwards and I was completely stunned. Now, I'm a type 2 diabetic and I went into diabetes ketoacidosis. They say that you don't feel shock, but I could feel my body going into shock. I was kind of in and out of consciousness, and without being graphic, it truly was the warm blood that kind of shocked me and got my attention. And then I could taste it in my mouth. I had this idea in my mind. I could actually have conversations with myself. Brenda, you are in trouble. My head felt like an accordion. And I had to keep my wits about myself. Now, I'm a live events producer. We deal with the ultimate of chaos. And when things are swirling around, you have to be the calmest person in the room. And I really had to go to that calm place because I looked around and I could see lights on. My neighbors are watching the post-game show. They were so close yet so far. There wasn't a bike, there wasn't a car, there wasn't anyone walking. The street was silent, but I could see my lights on. And I was yelling out. Nobody came. And I thought, there's something that's definitely, there's a survivor instinct and there's a mother's instinct. I knew that my daughter was coming home from a socially distanced bonfire within an hour. She was due home at 1 a.m. There was no way that my daughter was going to come across her mother covered in blood with a dog leash and a dog attached to her 30 feet from the house. And it drove me to get myself home because I knew if I didn't get home that I probably would not have gotten off of my neighbor's lawn. My dog is 70 pounds. And although she caused the accident, Harley saved my life. I wrapped my hand around her collar and kind of propped her underneath because I had no use of my legs. I was completely numb. And I just whispered to her, let's go home. Let's go see Daddy. Take me home. Where's Daddy? And that dog dragged me across my neighbor's lawn, across my lawn, up the stairs, and barked until my husband got to the door. When my husband got to the door, he was in complete shock because he'd gone to bed and he's looking at me and it looks like a crime scene. I'm covered, the dog's covered, the front steps are covered, and he can't even process what he's seeing. And at no one point did we think to call an ambulance. We lived in River Heights. We were 4 minutes from the Misericordia. Ironically, I had a surgery on this eye, my good eye, my only eye, 2 years prior. I know the Misericordia is now the urgent care and eye specialist hospital. We got in the vehicle, we raced over there, we walked in, and the resident doctor on site took a look at me and she's like, you need a CAT scan. Before we can do anything, you need a CAT scan. But our CAT scan operator has gone home. Ultrasound. And they went home at 11:30. It was the August long weekend. I rolled in at about 11, or just after midnight. And there was a little bit of chaos going on. She gets on the phone. She doesn't know what to do. They're telling me that we need to go and get this ultrasound. And the fatal error is instead of calling an ambulance and getting me to HSC, they had my husband drive me to St. B. My husband drove like a madman to St. B. I'm holding my eye on my head. We get there to the hospital. I'm sorry, it's a pandemic. Your husband can't come with you. That was awful. I get whisked up eventually to get my scan done. My husband calls St. B at 6 a.m. and says, I'm checking in on my wife. Is she here? Or how is she doing? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, she's not here. She's been taken back to the Miz last night. He arrived at my bedside within probably 10 minutes, and then we started waiting until my blood sugars were safe that I could go into surgery. I dare you to imagine that stress of what it's like to know that you may lose your eye. 30 minutes into my surgery, the surgeon called my husband and said, "I'm sorry, we can't save her eye. We need your consent to remove it." My husband was devastated. And before we could even process things, as soon as I got out of my surgery, I was whisked by ambulance away from my family back to St. B to deal with my diabetes ketoacidosis. We thought that I'd be in the hospital for a week, but that night at 10:30, they called and said, "We've got her sugars under control. You can come and pick her up." I went on a journey when I got home of what is my new normal? What is this new reality that I'm experiencing? And this is when I started daring myself. Perhaps it was years and years and years of being an athlete and always competing, but now I wanted to relearn depth perception, relearn peripheral vision, relearn simple things, pouring a coffee without it spilling on me and scalding myself. Within 2 weeks of my accident, I was back jogging with my dog and making sure that you don't miss the curb, checking that depth perception of the leaves that have fallen on the ground in different colors and the mud. And then within 3 weeks, I got a call that the ocularist was ready to see me. Going through the process of getting fitted for a prosthetic eye, learning how to put it in, learning how to live with that. Let me tell you, it was a challenge. It was interesting as much as it was scary. But I do have a beautiful prosthetic eye. And I often wear my patch when it's really windy out, or we had some of the smoke and the fire and it got a little bit overwhelming for my eye for weeks. But my ocularist did such a fantastic job, and watching that process and appreciating their creativity of drawing on this little tiny filament that will become my eye. I sat there and I said, "Do you take requests?" He's like, "What have you got in mind?" I'm like, "Well, I like being creative. I don't like boring. If I'm going to give my badass patch up, I want a really cool eye." And my nickname my entire life has been B. And when I played sports, it was Killer B. Can you put a B on my eye? Off I go to lunch. They create my eye. I come back and he's like, "I've got your eye in my hand." I'm like, "That's really cool." You probably won't be able to see it in this picture, but I've got a bumblebee tattoo on my eye, and everybody needs a party trick. You just can't live life boring. Life is way too short. And if you're going to stand out and if you're going to be bold and be different, I dare you to. It's just, I don't take myself too seriously. And I do think that one of the hardest things that I had to do was deal with my hair loss after the trauma of my event. I wear a hat every day. It's not because I think it's trendy and cool, which I do. It's because I lost so much hair. And it was harder for me to deal with the hair loss than it was with the eye. I will relearn all the things. I will challenge myself. I dare myself all the time. I started baking. I started cooking. I was a tomboy and never wore makeup. I put on makeup every single day. I dared myself every single day to step out of the box and do things that weren't my normal, because I wanted to practice the fine motor skills for this eye. And living in a world that was really chaotic during the pandemic, and I couldn't have friends come and visit. It was really a struggle at times to just kind of go day by day. I've had incredible support from our community. I've had incredible support from my family. And it made me feel strong enough to continue to challenge myself. And so every single day, I dare myself to do certain things. And some of them are not easy, like riding a bike, like driving a vehicle, even just getting back online, dealing with my hair loss, dealing with all of these things. It was such an emotional roller coaster, but I'm so grateful that I live in Canada and that this happened to me in Canada. A friend of mine introduced me to a page on Facebook. It's the One-Eyed Support Group. And I went there every day. And then I was just like, I can't be here. This energy is too crazy. There were people hiding in their basement for 2 years. There were people thinking of dark, dark, dark thoughts and suicidal. I wasn't there. I was busy challenging myself. I never once had the pity party. My closest friends will tell you, I've never once mourned the loss of my eye, which I know sounds unbelievable. I miss a little bit of my old life of being able to play certain sports and certain things, but I can tell you, the old saying goes, keep your eye on the ball in golf. I hit the ball way further and way straighter with one eye than I ever did with two. So I do continue to challenge myself in sports and in life every single day. And I dare you, step out of the box one day at a time. Dare yourself. Life is too short. My name is Brenda, and I'm an accidental pirate. Thank you.
Oh, Brenda, thank you so much. See some love coming in the chat, and I have the shivers, I have the goosebumps, and I just really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing your story, your positive outlook. And, when I think of dares for me, I might think of little things, but like dare is ever present in your life, and the way that you just move forward and what's next, that curiosity and challenge, and that you're laughing a little bit along the way. You're finding some humor. It could be so easy to forget, right? And just also that you mentioned the support that you have access to despite such a harrowing and terrifying experience that you faced a lot of alone because of circumstances with pandemic and healthcare and things. So and you mentioned before we met that story, it continues to evolve. There continues to be new things, and just really admire your courage. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so collect myself now back as MC. And thank you again so much to everyone for taking the time today to join us at Creative Mornings. We look forward to seeing you in September, and we'll be welcoming Jordan Stranger on the theme of design. So remember to register. I think the link will come into the chat, and invite you to take action now while you're feeling inspired and ready to join the Creative Mornings community. So tickets for the upcoming event are already available, and remember to invite your friends, and remember to tell us what you dared to do this month and share it. If you have anything to share with us, feel free to drop us a note at winnipeg@creativemornings.com. And if you're daring yourself to join the steering committee or be a volunteer member of Creative Mornings Winnipeg, please reach out to us. We would love to have you. So before we close the event with another song, we invite you to consider how you'll dare to overcome your fear and find a way to make that happen. This creative community is right here behind you. We are so pleased now to have another song by Paul Bergman. Like earlier, we invite you to dance, sway, or move to this song called Sun Dogs. Let's hope we're a little ways away from seeing the sun dogs, but get inspired through song. The formal program is done, but please feel free to listen to the musicians and then hang out to chat with our speaker and other folks from today's event a little longer. It's your opportunity to network and meet like-minded people. If you have questions for Brenda, if you'd like to hear more of her story, this will be a really nice chance to have a bit of Q&A together. So have a great weekend, and we really look forward to seeing you back here on October 29th.
got 8 lives less than a cat. That's not all, there's more to it than that. What I can't see, the sun dogs have come out to play. I feel like an ice age saying farewell, and I feel like a tale for others to tell. I walk on the river with Louis Ariel, who said he'd love to stay. The sun dogs have come out to play. When the waste of winter lies in my heart, lights dance in the north in the dark. These magnetic movements are spectral arc that rises and fades away. The sun dogs have come out to play. My nose is running, I'm falling behind. I got hoarfrost on my mind. Yesterday's deaf and tomorrow is blind, but that doesn't matter today. Some dogs have come out to play.
Well, I certainly wish everybody the very best day. If you want to stay and hang around for Q&A, now's the time when we can unmute and just be a little bit more casual and hang out here for another 5 or 10 minutes. So I'll just open the floor and invite anybody that has a question or wants to make a comment to do so.
Oh. I have a question.
Yeah.
Brenda, thank you so much for that amazing story. Not only is it a fascinating story, but you told it in such an engaging way, and you're a great storyteller. So thank you. I'm really interested in your daughter's response to this, because you talked about her, and often when children are watching parents go through these things, you know, you're trying to parent at the same time as you're being parented, and you're, you know, you're caring for someone else as well as being cared for. So I'm just wondering, you know, how she's walked through this experience with you, and what she's learned maybe from the process of watching you take such big steps and show such courage and dare to challenge yourself. What has that been like for her?
I can tell you as a mother that we always go into that parenting mode. When the anesthesiologist came into the recovery room and told me we couldn't save your eye, and then my husband followed him sobbing, I was parenting my husband. It's okay, honey. We're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. It's okay. And then when I got taken by ambulance, my husband tagged out and they allowed me to have one person. So Taya came up to the room and was in the room when the surgeon was telling us about my new reality. And there's one thing I know for certain, is that I've raised a very strong daughter who asks pointed questions and was very involved. But it was definitely hard for her. And the night of the injury, I was in so much shock and I couldn't talk. But I didn't want my daughter, I was still thinking about my daughter. I didn't want her to come home to a crime scene, the dog covered in blood, mom and dad gone, and she's coming home to this. I actually This sounds so crazy, but I actually took a picture of myself and texted it to her at the bonfire saying, and did a little voice to text because I couldn't text. I just said, like, accident, come home now. So she's sitting there around the bonfire. She gets a picture. She's like, I need a ride home. What's going on? But I wasn't thinking properly, because would I have wanted to do that to shock and upset my daughter? No. But I wanted to communicate. There was still that, listen, there's been an accident. I just wanted to make sure she knew it was an accident and that we would all figure it out together. One part of the story I didn't tell is that during this process, she overheard my husband and I talking about waiting to hear about the insurance. Unbeknownst to us, our daughter went and set up a GoFundMe page. She was 18 years old at the time. She sets up a GoFundMe. We don't know. She's not even on Facebook. She created a Facebook account, went to Facebook. She says, all the old people friends are on Facebook. She set up this GoFundMe. And I found out a day later when my son's girlfriend came over and just said, oh my gosh, like, can you believe that support? I'm like, what are you talking about? And I look at Savannah, and then I look at Taya, and Taya started bawling. She's like, I don't want you to be mad. I don't want you to be mad, but I just had to do something. I'm like, Taya, I just lost an eye. I don't need a GoFundMe. That's for people that are paralyzed, or like, that's where my brain goes. It's like, I don't need a GoFundMe page. And she looked me straight in the eye, no pun intended. You always taught me to have a contingency plan. My mom's getting an eyeball. But touche, touche. Well, you are sure your mother's daughter, aren't you? And a lesson here, we had all the insurances in the world. We had the eye for glasses, for contacts. We had the medical, we had car insurance, we had the critical illness insurance. Our dog, Harley, has insurance. Guess what? Of all those insurances, they don't cover the loss of one eye. They only cover full blindness. So what my daughter did is she went online, she found prosthetic eyes, she found an American website, did the conversion, set up a GoFundMe page in Canadian dollars. She wanted to ensure that her mother got an eye. And so I bless her, because it was such a blessing. And then when I did come back onto social media, and I slowly have come back onto Facebook, I started sharing my story and sharing my experience and thanking everyone for what I termed the community eyeball. And then I took people out jogging with me. I took them on my bike ride. I bought a tandem bike, like for the two people. I sure did. That's me. If you ever see me cycling around, I bought one because I wanted to go for bike rides. I still wanted to live my life. My life is just a little bit altered. It's not the normal of what I was used to. It's not my normal world, but it's still a pretty fantastic world. And I was going to utilize it and live with gusto. That's kind of where I come from, is that no broken eyeball is going to slow Brenda Bourns down.
Thank you. She sounds like an amazing daughter.
I kind of like her a lot.
Yeah. Well, I didn't ask about your son, so I apologize. I didn't understand that you had more, but it does sound, and I love the idea of the community eyeball.
It was my hashtag for a while.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic that everybody who donated has a little, investment in the Bumblebee and in the opportunity to have you live such a full life. And I'm sure that all of your friends and family are very grateful for that.
Well, it was when I had the eyeball, and I put it in, and now I've come back to the truck where my husband was waiting, and I'm like, honey, come here, I want to show you something. And he's still a little bit queasy, right? He's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, okay. So I get into the family chat because the ocularists had taken up a close-up of the eye with the Bumblebee tattoo in it. And I just put it in the family chat. No words. I just popped up this picture of this eyeball. My kids are like, Mom. I'm like, you know what? I don't take myself too seriously. I really don't. Yes, was it devastating to lose an eye? Yes. Was it devastating to lose an eye during a pandemic? Yes. But I just always see opportunity, and I see, I just always look for the good, you know, and what the lessons were that I learned that I've got a community of amazing people around me. And I'm very grateful that I'm on this side of the ground. So I just try to do my best and give back. And that's why my dare was to share this story on larger stages. I have been invited to wonderful podcasts. I'm so appreciative of you guys inviting me to Creative Mornings. And I don't know, I just think that during the pandemic, when people were really struggling, we were all looking for a little piece of hope, right? And I had a lot of friends reach out to me and go, you know, I was in such a bad mood, or I was depressed, or I was stuck at home, and I'd log on, I'd watch you on Facebook, and you're jogging with your dog with one eye. She's like, what am I worried about? So if I inspire my friends in any way, shape, or form in the tiniest little bit, then I'm happy.
I'm sure you do. I have no doubt. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You certainly inspired us today. And we are little pieces of your hope and inspiration walking into this world after today. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll open it up to other questions.
I have a quick one, or maybe it's not a quick one. An interesting question. I know very little about eyes and eyesight, but what I understand is there's such a thing as a dominant eye and a non-dominant eye.
Yes.
Do you know if it was your dominant eye or your non-dominant? Like,
definitely was.
oh, okay, fascinating. And I assume that causes me more difficulty in adapting. Is that?
Yes. Yes. So monocular vision is an interesting thing, and I challenge any of you to even just close your eye and just walk around and go about your daily business with one eye closed. It changes things. You know, I have not returned to driving. I consider my husband and my daughter my forever Ubers right now. But the reason that I know that I don't feel ready for that is that when I'm driving with them and I see a vehicle stop ahead with the red lights, I'm already wanting to stop and they're still not stopping. And so I'm doing the jumpy thing, or if a motorcycle comes out for the right-hand side, I don't see you until just a little bit later than normal. And so I'm in no rush, to be honest. After you lose an eye in Manitoba, you can go back to driving within 3 months. I technically could have been driving November 1st, 2020. Where was I going? It was a pandemic, and I certainly didn't want to relearn how to drive in a Winnipeg winter. So I was like, I'm good. I don't have anywhere to go. And if I have anywhere to go, I've got my Ubers. So that's probably something that I should challenge myself or dare myself. I do want to get back to driving, but I'm really in no rush right now. But it is very different, and it is a learning curve, 100%. And yeah, I was the 1% that said I want to do more extreme sports. I know that I'm going to I've done skydiving, I've done the scuba diving, I've done all of the things. And I know that I will challenge myself to do more sports that are challenging to me. I've gone back and tried to hit the baseball. I was successful. Hit the golf ball. That was better than ever. But there are certain things that I will continue to try to challenge myself with. And I will start with driving safely. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I'm really curious. I want to see the eye tattoo. Is there a way? If you have it,
Yes.
like, I don't know if it's. I'm so curious to see.
Okay, hold on.
Or is it?
So it's so funny. They put a mold in your eye socket to custom make this eyeball.
Okay.
My bee tattoo was supposed to be down in this corner where nobody would see.
Oh.
It's constantly swimming around and it likes to settle right in this corner. And I'm like, whatever, I have a busy bee. Now I'll go close up and I'll pull it to see if you can see it, but I'm not sure if you can.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
I don't know if you can see.
I saw it. Yeah, that's so cool.
So
wow.
It's funny that most of the questions I get are people, how hard is it to put in? How hard is it to take out? It's really as simple as a contact lens. I think it's actually more simple than a contact lens. And there you go.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Isn't that pretty cool?
that's so cool.
So I love how close that he made my eye.
It looks
it's pretty
real.
bang on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't mean to freak anybody out, but yeah, that it's very, very simple to put on and to take off. And when I do that, I'll just keep my eye closed. But it's amazing how many people, there's a huge community of people that have lost an eye.
Mm.
And in that community, if you just go on TikTok and go one eye gang, there's thousands of them, and they're always sharing, can you do this? Do you have, like, it becomes a part of you. I've got multiple patches. I've got the Guts Whiteout game. I've got her fall. I've got when I want to feel like a pirate. It's an accessory, but I do think this one is the coolest accessory of all. I do think it is. And yeah, like I said, I don't take myself too seriously. And it's I think that we are all a product of our environment. I was brought up by an incredibly strong mother. She had a hard time with me losing the eye, which I found ironic because she's so strong. But I think as a parent, it's always hard to see your child go through something. But there was one point after the injury, because I lost the shelf, I don't have this cheekbone. It was broken. So they were thinking of putting in a titanium plate. But then when they went in and they said, after I had my prosthetic eye, they're like, you actually have enough of a shelf that your eye won't droop. But I started having spasms in my face. And so I went to the surgeon, and I called my girlfriend who actually works for my surgeon. And she said, oh, are you under stress? And she was talking to my daughter on the phone. She's like, oh, it's okay. Has your mom had coffee? Is she under stress? She was thinking it was just like that little eye flutter that we get when we're tired. But my actual entire face was doing the jig. And that's when I turned to my family. I'm like, the only thing stressing me out is you guys. You're loving me too much. And I want you to go on a one-way trip to Mipawa and stay there for about 3 weeks because I could not do anything. I'm a super independent person. They were running my bath. They were making things for me, every meal, every single thing. And after I totally felt suffocated, I'm like, just let me figure it out. If I fall, I fall. If I burn myself, I burn myself. If I, whatever, I will figure it out. But let me fail a little bit so that I can find success. And let me fail forward. And that was the big TSN turning point for our home life. Yeah, it was really hard. They just loved me a lot. And the very first day, right after the injury, I could hear my husband. He asked me if I wanted something for breakfast, and I was kind of queasy. And I was sitting in the porch of our house in River Heights, and I thought there was a woodpecker because I could hear this. Like I thought there was a woodpecker. We had woodpecker at our other house. I thought there was woodpecker. He brings me breakfast. It's yogurt and strawberries and grapes that are minced so tiny. Like a baby could. I'm like, oh, that wasn't a woodpecker, that was Randy chopping up the stuff. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I started calling them Baba 1 and Baba 2 and asked them to just chillax, that I'll be okay. And yeah, it has been a journey. It continues to be a journey, but now they've let me out a little bit more. They trust that I'm okay.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. Like I was just thinking about how, sometimes we fear more, like just seeing what you went through, that seems so scary to me. But to see you come out on the other side and you're so chipper and positive and you're seeing the good in it, like it helps, it sort of reduces my fear a little bit of like catastrophic accidents, because yeah, they're terrible. No one wants to go through it, but to see you bounce back like that, it sort of gives me hope that life isn't as scary. The unknown isn't as scary. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It definitely was a journey.
And thank you for showing the bumblebee. I wouldn't have asked anyone, but I sort of felt like you'd be okay to show it.
Yeah, this girl's gonna pop out her eye and show it up close. Yeah, I'm
I
okay.
didn't think you would do that, but that was awesome too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I just want to say we all have a great story to go into the weekend with. So as we guess what I saw today?
Yeah,
So,
but they really
yeah.
are amazing. You think in this, talking to a room full of creatives, you think in this world of 3D computer that they would scan your eyes, see what color green it is, and then print it off and put it in whatever it is they need. But no. It's like the nail, the head of a nail, just a little circle. And there he is literally painting the iris and putting it up to my eye and going, oh, need a little bit more yellow. Oh, need a little bit more black flecks. It's unbelievable, you guys. It's really the coolest thing. They thought that I was the craziest patient. I was videotaping the whole thing. I was taking pictures. I'm like, oh, I got to put this on Facebook. This is interesting stuff. People need to know this. And I did. Yeah, they all know the one with the bumblebee, that's for sure. But I figured, well, I don't know. I don't have a tattoo on my body, but my eyes got a pretty cool tattoo. So that's my creative piece for you, friends in Creative Mornings.
I have a question.
Yes,
If we
Kat.
have time. Yeah. Okay. I'm curious about other people's response to your new reality. Like, have you heard any kind of interesting comment or like something that would just kind of take you aback?
I've had a lot of support. But my girlfriend did tell me, my girlfriend who works for the surgeon, she said to me, Brenda, you need to be prepared that you're going to lose some friends. I was like, what are you talking about? I got great friends. I'm not going to lose any friends. She goes, I'm just warning you. There are some people who will not be able to deal with your injury, so they will avoid you. I thought, really? I mean, it's easy to avoid people during a pandemic, but will those people reach out? Will they text? Will they call my family? Some of my closest friends surprised me. So that is interesting, but I do find that when I went into that one-eyed support group, I saw a lot of people really struggling. They really struggle with being called a pirate, or for me, you guys, what do you think my costume was last October? You betcha it was the best damn pirate I could find. I did not get freaked out about being called a pirate. I embraced it. I thought, whatever, doesn't everybody want to be Jack Sparrow's sister? I do. Like, I just thought it was fun. I don't take myself too seriously, but other people get really, really offended about being called a pirate. And I love when I come up with the children, because they have no filter and they're so curious and honest, and they'll just look at me, right? And I'll say, oh, you know what? I'm never going to tell them the truth. I was out walking my dog, lost my eye. No, that's not good. But I do say, oh, I had an injury. I've got a boo-boo. And I thought this was way more fun than a Band-Aid. Don't you agree? They love it. They're like, yeah, I want to be a pirate. So I have had a couple of friends that were reluctant to reach out. I just showed up at their house. I'm like, dude, it's still me. I'm fine. Whatever challenge you're having, that's your challenge, but I'm fine. I'm going to be fine. Call me, call a girl. but some people do really struggle. And the biggest thing that I found out in that Facebook group was people in other countries, whether it was Pakistan or India, they would get prosthetic eyes, but they wouldn't look as amazing as this. It was really too big. It bulged. They were called the ogre. They were teased in their village. It was awful. So I can tell you that my experience is very different than others' experiences. But yes, everybody deals with it differently. I have learned that when I went public and told people I have a tattoo in my eye, better make sure I've got mouthwash and brush my teeth, because people all want to get in close to see it. So that was the big lesson. It's like, oh yeah, everybody wants to see the tattoo on my eyeball. I hope that answers your question, Kat.
Thank you. That's so interesting. And I love your humor, by the way.
Life's too short.
Any other questions?
Brenda, you have an incredible story and you're so inspiring when you speak, and your humor about it. I was listening to you and how you tell it. I just, you could share this with so many people and inspire so many people. And I really thank you for sharing your story. And I really love the bumblebee tattoo. And I love that you're so just courageous to do what you need to do. And bless you.
Thank you. And I do feel, and I didn't realize how much of a story, I didn't realize how much my story impacted others until I started getting requests from Tokyo, Louisiana, and New York, and Toronto, and Port Hill, and people reaching out to me asking me to be on their podcasts or be on their Zooms or share their story or share my story. And that's when I had the aha moment. It's like, okay, there's a reason this happened to me. Because everything happens for a reason. Like, the universe just works that way, right? And so maybe I'm meant to share my story. And so I would welcome, if you know of any group or association or chapter that you feel that I could speak in front of, I would appreciate the connection, because I do get a very similar response every time that I share the story. Whether it's the dog part or whatever it is, 4 trips to 2 hospitals in 23 hours, whatever that story is, whatever resonates with someone, I often get people wanting to hear it again or wanting more information. And so I'm happy to share.
I am curious about your dog.
Oh, she's right here. Harley. I don't know if I can move my. There she is. Hi, Harley.
Hi.
Yeah, she is a rough collie and an Australian Shepherd mix, and she's just she just looks like a smaller shepherd. But I mean, I used to say, thank goodness she was 70 pounds so she could drag me home. But if she was a Chihuahua, it would never have happened, right? She would never drag me so quickly. But she was just being a dog, right? Dogs see rabbits or squirrels and they react. Unfortunately for me, it was August 1st and I was wearing flip-flops. Like, it wasn't like, it was just a combination of errors. I had her leash wrapped around me so tightly as to keep her close to me. It was just, it literally, and my girlfriend Shelley said to me, Brenda, did you read the report after your injury? And I'm like, well, yeah, I read it, but I don't really understand it. And she goes, well, sometimes we lose the eye, but keep the shelf. Or we lose the shelf and keep the eye. We don't have both. And so when you read the report, quite literally, they're like, appears to be, seems like, could be. She goes, we don't know what we're talking about here. She goes, we don't know, like, this is not a normal injury. You impacted it at such a precise and exact way to hurt your eye and break the cheekbone, or it's actually called the orbital floor. She said that they haven't seen it before, and congrats, you're going to be in the medical journals at U of M. I'm like, awesome. So it was definitely learning for everyone, including our surgeons.
Wow. So how has your dog responded in your recovery? Because often we know that pets can be quite empathetic in terms of when they know that their owners have been hurt. And so was there a sense that your dog's response was also supportive of your healing?
She has not left my side for a year. I had one girlfriend come over and she's like, you're going to trip over your dog. You're going to trip over your dog, because wherever I go, Harley goes. And still to this day, that's why she's right beside me when I'm doing my Creative Mornings chat. She has not left my side. And our dog would never normally go into the washroom in our house. When I was having a bath, she would come and lie down on the mat right outside the bathtub. She would come to the bed. Our dog doesn't come up on our bed. She would come up on our bed. She would sniff me. She was constantly around. That's why I showed in the PowerPoint that look of her looking up at me from the ground. That was her every single day. And so she's very, very protective. And even when we're out on our walks now, those other dogs better not get too close to her mom. She will let them know. There will be a very unfriendly growl, almost a snarl to like, hey, back off, keep your distance. You can walk by, but you're on the boulevard, we're on the sidewalk. So she's very, very, very protective.
Thank you.
They're so intuitive.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I figured because she was also part of the event itself, that, you know, she would have a great connection to that. So.
And that night, because I was going in and out of consciousness, she came back and she was nudging me. She was nudging me awake. Like she was checking in and literally with her nose would be nudging my face. And I would be like, oh, okay, Brenda, you're in trouble. You better figure it out. So I'm happy that I figured it out.
We are too.
Well, thank you very much. I have to run to work now, but it was a pleasure to meet you, Brenda. And I'm gonna share the link to this recorded video. I think other people should watch it too. This is really great. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yeah,
thank you everyone for joining us today. And Kelly, you did a fantastic job. So you dared to be our MC and you rocked it. You absolutely rocked it. So
well,
thank you. Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
job. Great job.
Yeah.
Have a great morning, everybody.
Thank you.
Brenda. All right. Thanks,
Amazing.
Brenda.
Now.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.